This is the story of Aisha, a young mother who had nothing left but her love for her baby, and Daniel, a wealthy CEO who had everything except the experience of struggle. One fought to keep her child warm on cold, sleepless nights. The other closed multi-million-dollar deals from a warm office high above the city. But one freezing, rain-soaked evening, under a crumbling bridge, their paths crossed in a way neither of them could have imagined. What happened next would forever change both their lives and prove that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can be the most life-changing gift of all. The rain was relentless, pouring from the sky in icy sheets that stung the skin. The city shimmered under a haze of streetlights, the wet pavement turning every light into a trembling reflection. Car tires hissed through puddles, splashing water onto the few pedestrians still braving the storm. Beneath an old stone bridge, far from the shelter of shopfronts, Aisha sat hunched over on a flattened piece of damp cardboard. The smell of wet concrete and the faint echo of traffic above surrounded her. In her arms was her baby, bundled in a worn, frayed blanket that was already soaked through. She adjusted it constantly, trying to keep his tiny face shielded from the cold. Her deep brown skin glistened with raindrops, her braided hair plastered to her cheeks. Her lips were cracked, her fingers stiff from the cold, but she held her child with unshakable strength, rocking gently, whispering to him in a low, steady voice. People passed by. Some glanced, pity flickering across their faces before they quickly looked away. Others didn't see her at all. A few cast suspicious looks, whispering judgments. At that same moment, Daniel was driving home from his office. The leather seats of his luxury car were warm, the dashboard glowing softly, the hum of the engine steady. The rain against the windshield was almost calming. But as he approached the bridge, something caught his eye. A motionless figure in the shadows, curled protectively around something small. Daniel slowed, his curiosity breaking through the routine of his nightly drive. When his headlights swept across the space beneath the bridge, the scene became clear. A woman, soaked to the bone, clutching a tiny baby, as if letting go would mean losing everything. His chest tightened. He pulled to the side of the road, turned off the engine, and stepped out into the freezing rain. The cold bit into his skin immediately, but he pressed forward, his umbrella barely holding back the downpour. He stopped a few steps away from her. "Good evening. Are you all right?" he asked softly. Aisha's head lifted slowly, her eyes weary. Rain dripped from her eyelashes, her cheeks hollowed by exhaustion. I'm fine," she said, her voice barely audible over the rain. Daniel's gaze dropped to the bundle in her arms, the tiny fingers peeking from the blanket, trembling slightly. "Where will you sleep tonight?" She looked down at her baby, then away from him. "Here." The word struck him like a blow. He extended a hand. "Come with me." The small cafe was like another world. The door closed behind them with a soft chime, shutting out the sound of the storm. Warm air wrapped around them, carrying the rich scent of coffee and fresh bread. Aisha stood still for a moment, blinking in the sudden light, as though her body was reluctant to believe she was safe, even temporarily. Daniel led her to a quiet corner booth and went to the counter. Moments later, he returned with 2 mugs of hot chocolate, steam curling up from the dark liquid. "Here," he said, sliding one toward her. She wrapped both hands around the mug, the heat seeping into her cold, stiff fingers. She didn't drink immediately. just held it, eyes closed, letting herself feel something other than cold for the first time in days. Then slowly, she began to talk. She told him about the home she had fled, the nights of fear, the moment she realized she had to escape, about walking for miles with her baby, praying for shelter, finding only shadows under the bridge, about the hunger that gnawed at her as she tried to feed her child first. Daniel listened intently, his hands folded on the table. There was no pity in his gaze, only deep attention. When she finished, he reached into his coat and pulled out a thick envelope. "This will pay for a hotel for a week," he said. "Rest, feed your baby. I'll check in on you." Her eyes widened. I can't accept this." "You can," he said firmly. "You must. You're a mother." The next morning, Daniel called the hotel to confirm her stay, but the receptionist told him she had never checked in. A surge of worry swept through him. Had she gone back to the bridge? Had something happened? For 3 days, her face and the image of that tiny baby wouldn't leave his mind. He thought about the rain still falling at night, the bitter wind. Then, as he drove past a community center one afternoon, he caught sight of her through the fogged glass. Inside, she sat at a small table, gently feeding her baby from a bottle. When she saw him, she stood quickly. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice almost breaking. "I used the money to rent a small room and buy food. I wanted to make it last." Relief washed over him. She hadn't run from his help. She had made careful choices, ones that proved she wasn't just surviving. She was fighting to build something for her child. Daniel looked at her for a long moment before making a decision. "Come with me," he said again, but this time his voice carried a different weight. They went to a real estate office. The walls were lined with photos of apartments, glossy brochures, neatly stacked on the desks. Aisha clutched her baby, looking unsure if she even belonged there. Daniel spoke with the agent, signed papers, and turned back to her. "This is your apartment now," he said, holding out a set of keys. "And I've arranged a job for you at one of my companies. You'll never sleep outside again." Her mouth fell open. Tears spilled freely as she took the keys in trembling hands. She hugged her baby so tightly, it was as if she feared he might vanish if she let go. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. The apartment was small but warm, and for the first time in months, she could lock a door behind her. The job gave her stability, a reason to believe in tomorrow. Her baby laughed more. She smiled more. The bridge became nothing but a memory. And every time Daniel visited, she thanked him. But he would only smile and say, "Promise me one thing, that one day you'll help someone else the way I helped you." If this story touched your heart, please show your support by giving this video a thumbs up and sharing it. Comment below which moment touched you the most, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because soon I'll be sharing more real-life stories filled with emotion, twists, and hope. Stories that prove kindness is still alive in this world. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, we rise by lifting others.